Hello and welcome to Psychology Live. I'm Dr. Gail Majcher, and with me is Mary DiPaolo, limited licensed psychologist, and we're so glad that you're joining us today. We have been so thrilled with the feedback we've been getting. We appreciate your questions, and please keep communicating with us. We want you to.
We sure do. And you can always reach us through our Facebook page, which is Psychology Live ! And you can post questions or comments that you have there, and you may also reach us through our respective websites, drgail.com, correct?
Dr. Gail at drgail.com.
Yes.
Real easy.
And my blog is yourweeklysession.blogspot.com.
You know, in I think the last show or the show before, I had said you can contact us through Instagram. I mean YouTube.
We don't have no Instagram, okay? We were just wishfully thinking in that moment.
So we're continuing our series on communication. We've already covered being passive-aggressive. So now we're moving on to straight-on aggression, and we'll end it up with talking about assertion.
Yes. These are the 4 communication styles that we naturally fall into as communicators. And when we talked about passive, these are the people that won't say what they need to say because they tend to swallow their feelings.
Let me just say right there, it's really worth listening to the last 2 shows.
Absolutely.
Because these 4 communication styles really apply to all of us. Mm-hmm. So learning about passivity is really important. Like, we can summarize it, but there's so much more to it. So if you can, watch that show too.
And remember also that you can have a predominant communication style, but you can also flip to another style depending on who you're with.
Absolutely.
And who you're communicating with. So, with the aggressive communication style, oh geez, guess why I'm talking about it today? Because I was a naturally aggressive communicator, and I can tell you why. Because I was angry as S-H-I you-know-what for a long time. Why? Well, that's a whole other story for another show.
That would be an interesting show to talk about our backgrounds.
Yeah. Because when
I'm not saying that our parents weren't wonderful people.
Well, speak for yourself, okay?
Whatever.
So anyway, with the aggressive communication style, let's face it, you're aggressive. You want what you want when you want it, and you pretty much are capable of doing most anything to get it. So just imagine how that translates into a communication style. You don't listen very well because you're too busy thinking about what you want and how you're going to go about getting what you want.
And if you are being aggressive towards someone and they try to give some feedback, there is no communication that goes on because you just keep going and going and going. Mm-hmm. You just talk right on top of them, or you say, wait a minute, let me finish, and you just keep going and going. So that other person doesn't get a chance to have you listen to what they're saying.
Right. And aggressive communicators aren't really that interested in understanding or being understood because they just want what they want.
In the moment.
In the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And as a recovering aggressive communicator, I know that I was a great assassinator, gaslighter. If I knew something about you that I could assassinate or attack you with, I was going to do it while we were communicating. So I would shut you up, humiliate you, and make you give me what I wanted. That's why I work so well with cluster B personality disorders.
Well, that personality type, what Mary's describing, when someone comes at you hard and your personality is that more of a passive or passive-aggressive, or just somewhere in between, it's very easy for your mind to shut off. If someone comes at me aggressively and is just on me saying things, I can't think of anything to say. My mind is so confused by being attacked by someone, it just shuts down. And I've heard that from so many people. I know that's a natural reaction for you. It's like your mind can't comprehend that that's coming at you. So you can't come up with a logical response, even though the person who's attacking you doesn't want you to come up with any response anyway. I probably will come up with something like, do you think God wants you to be speaking that way?
Right. It's the truth. And when you have 2 aggressive communicators, this is what happens. It's like, blah, 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 back. And I know when I've been in situations where unprovoked, somebody just starts attacking me, I will say to them, standing my ground, why are you yelling at me like that? And I know how to use the vocal tone and inflection like, no, I ain't playing. Why are you yelling at me like that? Well, whether they keep going or not is their choice. But the unfortunate thing is with two aggressive communicators, one of you can end up on an episode of Snapped. So you gotta think before you act. You know what I'm saying? Because it's real easy when you're an aggressive communicator to fall into these traps of aggressive behavior, to follow the aggressive communication that you later end up regretting.
I had someone mention me one time, just a very charming, bright, gifted person say to me, you know, in a heartbeat, I can switch into ghetto. And I go, what do you mean? And she said, in a heartbeat, I can start attacking someone below the belt.
Right.
And I said, well, you know, that's not really something to be proud of. That's something to work on.
That's right, because when you are an aggressive communicator, I mean, how is attacking and assassinating someone's character, or just really, like Dr. Gail is saying, hitting them below the belt, really going to work to solve, resolve, or dissolve the issue that's under discussion, the conflict, or the problem that you're trying to correct? It doesn't work in any way. All it teaches each other is that it's okay to scream and be out of control, be compulsive, be impulsive, and that's not a good way to live. Your blood pressure goes up. You have all kinds of problems, you know, be it psychological, emotional, physical, because you're used to dealing with the world and people in a very aggressive manner through your communication style. Come on. Nobody wants to hang out or be involved with intimately that type of person.
And this whole series that we're doing is on communication. And when that kind of aggression comes into the dialogue, well, it stops being a dialogue. There is no communication that takes place. The only thing that's taking place is one person emotionally attacking another person. That's not communication.
Right. It's abuse.
It is definitely abuse. And then throw in there other people who observe that, such as children. If children have parents like that and they see it, then they learn that that's the way that adults deal with conflict. That's a terrible message to pass on to children.
It certainly is.
And if they're, you know, genetically, personality types tend to get passed down. If one of the kids has that tendency and then is raised with it, there's a really good chance that they're going to be very harsh like that. I remember one time observing someone yelling at someone else, and then that person turned to me and said, why does it bother you? Why does this yelling bother you? And that question was fascinating to me, because it's not why does it bother me, it's why are you yelling like that and attacking another person? That's the issue. Mine not accepting it, mine not thinking it's okay is normal.
That's right. And you know, for many years when I was a kid, when I'd be out with friends, they'd always be like, which meant tone it down, because I was a type, you know, wherever we would be. But I was raised in the yelling family. So guess what? To me, yelling was perfectly normal. Anybody that talked like this was crazy, because yelling was my normative behavior in the family. That's all I knew.
I remember when we first met, Mary and I were quickly thrown into a radio show together, which was really cool, but we didn't know each other well. And we were at a restaurant, and you were telling me about your mother and how intense she would get.
Yes,
and I thought, oh, this whole restaurant now knows what Mary's mother was like.
That's the way it works, you see. So you do really have to be mindful of the legacy you picked up, the generational legacy, as we like to refer to it, as it relates to communication styles. Because of the 4 communication styles, the aggressive style is the most harmful and the most damaging.
It's so damaging, and sometimes that aggressive personality looks like it works in business situations. A lot of people who keep climbing up will use that aggressive personality, because the deal is there is no empathy. They're not caring about other people's feelings at all. So therefore, it looks like they can, you know, jump ahead of other people. But in the end, you reap what you sow.
That's right.
You are harming people along the way. Sooner or later, it's going to catch up with you. That's the nature of life. I mean, it's scriptural. It's what happens. We reap what we sow.
That's right. Now, we're out of time. So guess what? Next time we are going to talk about the appropriate way to roll communication style-wise, which is the assertive communication style.
Thank you for watching.
Have a great week.